Listen well, traveler, for I shall tell you of the greatest secret of the Dwarfen kingdoms, the runes of power. In the first age of the world, before the Empire existed, before even the elves raised their first towers, the ancestor gods walked among the dwarves. Grungni the Maker, Grimnir the Fearless, and Valaya the Protector taught the dwarfs everything they would need to survive. But Grungni's greatest gift was the knowledge of runes, the language of creation itself, carved into stone and metal to bind magic and matter into one. These were not mere decorations, not simple writing. Each rune contained a fragment of the world's fundamental laws. The rune of stone made metal unbreakable. The rune of fire made blades burn with eternal flame. The rune of warding turned aside sorcery and corruption. When properly inscribed by a master runesmith, these symbols could make a single dwarf warrior worth 10 men, or a gate capable of withstanding demon princes. This was the dwarf's answer to magic, not the capricious winds of sorcery that humans and elves used, but something stable, permanent, and utterly reliable. But Grungni gave his children a warning that would shape dwarf society forever. These runes are not toys. They are not tools for ambition or greed. Each rune you carve draws power from the fabric of reality itself. Carve carelessly, and you will unmake what you sought to create. Carve wrongly, and you will destroy yourself and all near you. Master your craft, perfect your knowledge, and never, ever innovate without absolute certainty. And so the runesmiths became the most conservative craftsmen in the world, because the cost of failure was annihilation. To become a runesmith is to dedicate your entire existence to a single craft. The apprenticeship lasts not years, but decades, sometimes centuries. So a young dwarf who wishes to learn the runes must first prove themselves worthy, demonstrating not just skill with hammer and chisel, but patience, humility, and absolute dedication to tradition. They begin by learning to carve non-magical symbols with perfect precision. For 50 years, they might do nothing but practice straight lines and curves. Because if you cannot carve a simple line perfectly every time, you have no business attempting to carve reality itself. Only after mastering the physical craft do they begin to learn the runes themselves, and they learn them one at a time. The rune of stone might take 20 years to fully understand, not just how to carve it, but when to use it, how it interacts with different metals, what combinations are safe, what mistakes past runesmiths made with it. Every rune has a history written in the blood of those who misused it, and the apprentice must memorize these histories, learn from these failures, understand that they are not creating something new, but preserving something ancient and dangerous. After a century or more of apprenticeship, if they have proven themselves worthy, they create their first true runic item under their master's supervision. It is always something simple, perhaps a hammer with a single rune of striking. If successful, they become a journeyman runesmith. If they fail, they might die, or worse, be cast out in shame. Many apprentices spend their entire lives learning and never achieve even this first step. Those who do spend another century as journeymen before attempting their masterwork, a piece that demonstrates complete mastery and innovation within tradition. Only then do they become full runesmiths. Only then can they take apprentices of their own. But ordinary runes are only the beginning. There exist master runes, symbols of such power that only one can be inscribed on any item, lest they tear reality apart through their interaction. The master rune of Crag the Grim makes armor completely invulnerable. The master rune of Skalf Blackhammer calls lightning from clear skies. The master rune of Alaric the Mad, well, no one knows what it does anymore because Alaric never wrote it down and he disappeared 3,000 years ago. Each master rune is a unique creation, often named for the runesmith who first inscribed it, and their secrets are guarded more jealously than gold. The creation of a master rune can take decades. Some runesmiths spend their entire lives developing a single new master rune and never complete it, for the process requires not just technical mastery but inspiration bordering on divine insight. The runesmith must understand not just how to carve the symbol, but why it should exist, what purpose it serves in the cosmic order. Many who attempt to create master runes go mad from the effort. Others succeed but die in the attempt, their life force consumed by the act of binding such power into physical form. To inscribe a master rune is to touch the divine. The most famous master runes are those inscribed by Alaric the Mad, the greatest runesmith who ever lived. In the year 1850 of the imperial calendar, he forged the rune fangs, 12 swords, one for each elector count of the empire. Each blade bore a unique combination of runes, including a master rune of his own devising. These swords could cut through any armor, would never break, and will never fail their wielder in battle. Alaric spent 200 years creating them, and when the last was complete, he simply walked into the mountains and was never seen again. The rune fangs remain the most powerful weapons in the Empire to this day, and no runesmith since has been able to replicate Alaric's work. Humans often ask why the dwarfs do not innovate, why they do not create new runes or improve upon the old ways. The answer is simple. They do, but so slowly that human lifespans cannot perceive the change. A runesmith might spend a century testing a slight variation on an existing rune. If it proves safe and superior, it might be adopted. After another century of debate among the runesmith guild, change that seems glacial to humans is actually breakneck speed to dwarfs who remember 10,000 years of history. They have seen what happens when ambition outpaces wisdom, and they will not repeat those mistakes. The greatest example of disastrous innovation was the War of Vengeance with the elves. During that terrible conflict, some young, ambitious runesmiths attempted to create new weapon runes to counter elven magic. They worked too quickly, tested too little, and combined runes that should never have been combined. The results were catastrophic. Entire dwarf throngs were annihilated when their runic weapons exploded. Holds were damaged. The shame of those failures is recorded in the Great Book of Grudges, and the names of those runesmiths are struck from all records. Since then, the conservatism of the guild has only intensified. Better to use proven methods slowly than untested innovations that kill your own warriors. And yet there are always exceptions. Mavericks who push boundaries. Crag the Grim, the oldest living runesmith, is one such dwarf. At over 1,500 years old, he has lived long enough to see the consequences of both excessive caution and reckless innovation. He creates new master runes, but only after centuries of testing. He trains no apprentices because he believes none are worthy, that the art is dying because young dwarfs lack the patience and dedication required. He may be the last of the truly great runesmiths, and when he dies, much knowledge will die with him. This is the tragedy of dwarf conservatism. In protecting their craft from corruption, they risk losing it to time. When dwarfs go to war, They bring the power of their ancestors with them. A dwarf lord in runic armor is worth 100 warriors. His armor bears the rune of stone, making it harder than diamond. The rune of fire on his axe sets enemies ablaze with every strike. The rune of warding on his shield turns aside sorcery. He is not just a warrior, he is a walking fortress, an avatar of dwarfen craft and determination. Human knights with their fancy heraldry and elvish warriors with their magic cannot match a fully equipped dwarf rune bearer, because every rune represents thousands of years of accumulated knowledge, and that knowledge makes them unstoppable. But runic equipment is rare beyond measure. A single runic hammer might take a runesmith a decade to create. A full suit of runic armor, perhaps a lifetime. The greatest runic items are heirlooms passed down through clans for millennia, each bearer adding to their legend. The axe of Dargo was forged 1,500 years before the imperial calendar and has been wielded by 17 kings. The armor of Skaldor survived the War of Vengeance and still bears the scars. These items are not merely weapons. They are history made tangible. To damage or lose one is a grievous dishonor, but to capture an enemy's runic equipment is a victory worth recording in song. The true power of runes, however, lies not in individual items, but in how they support the dwarf approach to war. Dwarfs do not fight with reckless courage like humans or elegant precision like elves. They fight with absolute reliability. Their runic armor will not fail. Their runic weapons will not break. Their runic engines will fire every time. In a world of chaos and uncertainty, the dwarfs bring order and predictability. This is what their ancestors intended. Not that every dwarf be a hero, but that every dwarf be dependable. And through runes, that dependability is guaranteed. Despite being few in number and slow to change, will the dwarfs endure while younger races falter? All these questions and many more will be answered in The Tales of the Old World. Subscribe and click the notifications button. And I shall see you in the next tale.